Welcome to another To the Cloud video. In this one, Scott and I are diving into VM applications in Azure. We're switching over from the Microsoft 365 and PowerShell that we did last time and diving into this newer feature within Azure. We'll show you how to go in and start creating one of these VM applications, how you store it, where it gets placed in Azure, and then how you could go in and deploy a virtual machine and install one of these VM applications onto your virtual machine. We are live with your To the Cloud stream resource group that I see you have created here.
Yeah, that's it. That's where we are going to start. So empty resource groups, there's some prerequisites here, or a couple things that we need to kind of go out and install first. So I think for today, like, this is kind of new to me. Let's just walk through the portal experience and do it that way. But for all this stuff, you should be able to do the majority of it through, if not all of it, through the CLI, through PowerShell. And certainly because you can do it through the portal, ultimately you can do it through the REST API or things like that if you want to as well. So before we can upload a VM application and kind of get it bootstrapped into a VM, we have to have a compute gallery. So let's go and find the Azure Compute Gallery. There it is.
All right, this is the one that used to be the shared image gallery. So just
right. Yep.
FYI.
This is the artist formerly known as the shared image gallery. So this will be our To the Cloud gallery. We'll deploy to East US. We'll see if the oh boy, here we go. Look at that right off the bat. We need to
you already got
register.
Warning. I was just reading those warnings, but it looks like that's only if you want to share images in certain scenarios, like the direct share is across subscriptions and tenants, and the communities is public. So if we would move through this without actually doing that, would we be able to share these like inside of this subscription and inside of this resource group? We just wouldn't be able to share it at a broader level to like across multiple subscriptions, or to maybe we're publishing these for some of our clients and we want to publish them to other tenants. Is this just allowing us to do it at different scopes?
You tell me. Like, whatever person designed this UI flow, like, I hope they come back and watch this video, because this is
a little odd.
This is not good. So, like when I sit here and I hit this screen, I'm like, oh, I can't do something here because it's thrown up an error message at me. Like, sure, I could go ahead and hit review and create, but like, what are these other things? Like, why am I not allowed to hit these buttons?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, if you go back, can we go back to that screen once more? Will it let you go back to sharing? Like, I'm wondering if those two warning messages are correlating to the two grayed out boxes. Like, the community gallery, to me, points to that second radio box where it's share public community gallery previews. And then the share direct, I mean, just looking at the feature is compute direct share. I'm wondering if you actually registered those, if you'd be able to select those other two options. And because they aren't registered, you only can do that role-based access.
Yeah, well, let's see, because I did get that one registered. So even though the documentation is not great and the error message isn't great, since it points you a feature that doesn't exist again. So let's do To the Cloud gallery. Third time's the charm, right?
Unless one is a prerequisite. Is one a prerequisite of the other?
I don't know. It doesn't say. There's nothing in the documentation about it. Good luck to you if you can figure it out.
If I can figure it out, let's find the owner and send them this video and say, please help. Okay. Anyways.
All right. Anyway, let's go create a compute gallery now that we've got it. But the funny thing is, when you're in the documentation for creating a gallery, The very first example, which is why I started going down this path, is creating a private gallery, which is then followed by the create a direct shared gallery, which totally has the screenshots that we just went through. But RBAC, but shared directly in the screenshot, doesn't have preview on it. And the other one did. And then don't get me started on like those labels are all wrong. Like, why is preview all in caps on one and yelling at me, but it's just sentence cased on the other, and
On
blah
the
blah
other.
blah. Like, I don't I don't get it. All right. So
Excuse me, I have no opinion. Well, I have
Right.
opinions. I have no clue why.
All right. So cool. So at this point, we have a gallery. And the other thing that it wants us to have done already is uploaded our application to a storage account. I love this because it doesn't tell you like anything about it. Like, I think for like onboarding somebody who's new to this stuff, like they should totally explain all these concepts. Like, you should actually have a tutorial that says, here, create a storage account, step 1, step 2, step 3, here, create a compute gallery, step 1, step 2,
but then what would we do,
step
Scott?
3.
If they had all
Kind
that,
of.
we wouldn't be able to create how-to videos on how to do it.
Yes. So this will be interesting. So we also need to byte align our files. And I don't know why this particular requirement exists. So let's switch over to PowerShell here. I wonder if we can do all this through the Cloud Shell. So let's just go grab an MSI installer. What would something good be?
Doesn't Edge have an MSI? Go grab the Edge.
Let's just do
Edge for
something
Business?
like 7-zip or something like that. So let's do a 7-zip 64-bit. So let's copy that. And let's just do a wget. Great. All right. So now we have an MSI here. And like I said, they have some example PowerShell that you can run in the documentation. So the file that I want to grab is that 7-zip MSI.
Input file. And
do that. And
yeah, if you're watching this too, this is right now, you're just following the documentation from Microsoft on create and deploy VM applications. So we'll put a link to the documentation that you're using in the description for this video, but there's no guarantees that we're not going to do something that's not in the documentation because Microsoft didn't document it properly.
Exactly. And then this shouldn't do anything because, so just checking the remainder there, it was already a byte align file. So
byte align, got it.
Yes. So first byte was already 0 there. So I think we're good on that. I'm not actually going to bother with like trying to rip this file down out of my cloud drive or something like that. So now let's go back to our resource group, and it says we need a storage account. So let's just create like an LRS, like bog standard storage account. So we'll create that. I still love that, like all these years into the portal experience too. Please, if anybody manages the portal and you're listening to me, like I'm in a resource group, I'm in a subscription, just default this stupid resource group to the current one that I'm in. Like, please, please, please do that. So to the cloud gallery, we'll do a bad thing and we'll name all our resources the same exact thing, LRS. Actually, let's just make this like str. It's not going to be less than 15 characters. Yes, just so we know that this is our gallery storage. We should be good with all of the default stuff here. I'm not going to worry about soft delete. But you should absolutely, if you're a regular person, leave all of that stuff on. We don't need HNS or anything else. So just a call out here. Your application has to be stored in a certain type of blob. So Azure Storage supports block blobs, it supports append blobs, and it supports page blobs. You have to make sure that you upload this MSI as a page blob. So let me go ahead and just download that MSI real quick. So I've got it locally. Great. My storage account is here. Storage browser, blob containers. And we'll call this applications.
Applications. And then this does, so you can do this publicly available too when you go create the storage account to pull this application down, or you need a SaaS URI, which makes sense, right? Like when you go create this VM application, somehow you need to be able to access the storage account.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Basically, the process of getting it in, it's the process of getting it into the compute gallery. It needs to be public. But back to some of those other things and use cases for this, the VM application itself, like it's going to pull the installer out of this thing.
And then
you've
put
done
it
this
in that
pre-rack of
VM
make sure it's byte aligned.
app.
But yeah, and it's going to put it in that VM app resource, that logical construct thing, whatever that is. All right, so
because I like asking difficult questions, in theory, if you're using a SaaS URI, could you pull this over a private endpoint?
Well, private endpoint implies that you've turned off public access usually.
Right, well, because it says public availability or a SaaS URI. I wasn't sure.
So I think what they're saying there is public availability, like on a container itself. I can say this container is public or private.
It's public or got it.
In the actual container properties at the time I create it. Or I can have this thing and it can be in a private container, but I can generate a SaaS URI that allows anybody to download it.
Anybody to access it.
As long as the storage account is publicly accessible. So I'm just going to scroll down here. I don't actually know when the SaaS token comes in here. It's not very clear to me why it's telling me to do all this. So why don't we just leave this window open and we'll create a new one here just so I can come back later if I need to. I think we're all done with the easy feature stuff. So let's go to our gallery again. So we've got our compute gallery here, and I want to create a VM application definition. So, hey, got the right resource group this time.
It defaulted to your resource group. It remembers.
Maybe it's because of the resource that's in the thing. It listened to me. So this will be this will just be 7-zip. We're in East US. This is an MSI, so we're doing Windows. This is the 7-zip x64 MSI installer. End of life date.
And this is all for the VM application, right? So if someone goes and looks for it, they can see, oh, this application has a end of life of a certain date, or this is the EULA for the specific application we're publishing, privacy URIs. Especially if you would go in and publish these to the public gallery, I would think you'd really want all of this stuff on there. So people aren't pulling old images expecting them to work, and you sunsetted that particular image.
Yep, that's it. So now that resource is there. So if I go back and I look at my resource group, I've got my storage account, which had my MSI uploaded to it. I've got my gallery. And then within my gallery, I can see now if I go from the Get Started to the Definitions tab, now I've got this definition down there. So if I come into that, now I can create a VM application version. So let's just call this 1.0 just to make things easy. All right, source application package. Is it just going to let me browse my storage account? because now I don't even need a SaaS URI. There we go.
So could
That's
you
nice.
potentially, so if you couldn't browse it, I wonder if potentially you could just copy and paste the SaaS URI in there?
Yeah, you should be able to. Same kind of difference. It looks like it's just gonna grab it out of there. All right, so this is interesting. So we need an install script, an uninstall script, and an update script. Why
Oh, at least
do
there's a link in the documentation for an overview of how to create one.
no, it doesn't actually show you how to create one.
Oh, you're right. It just brings you to the.
It links you over to the command interpreter.
It is in that page it linked to. You just have to go way down to MSI installers, and it talks through command line execution of MSI installers to add or remove.
There we go. Yes. So the commands should use MSI exec. You are correct. So let's change this up a little bit. So we want to do this, and we would like to do /q install dirt equals that. So it should just be something like that then.
Yes,
so MSI
I believe
exec,
so.
call my application package, which should be
Did you throw
right
the
there.
dash? Oh, I think you need the /i between your MSI exec and your MSI. Because I think you have a /i for install, and it looks like a /x for uninstall, if I'm remembering my MSI exec and reading my documentation.
You're being very difficult
right
here.
there. I am being difficult.
If only they made this easier, right? So then we do /q, blah blah blah. Theoretically, that all works.
And then it's like the exact same thing, only a /x for an uninstall of a.
So
/. Oh, other one.
/x.
You can leave the /q.
And we'll just cut all that off.
You can do a /q though for that. Oh, you took everything off.
Yeah.
Do you need a /q? Do you want it to still be a silent uninstall?
I don't know. Shouldn't matter, right? It's running in the background someplace. I mean, if we really want to be explicit about it, sure, we'll do that.
I don't know. No. I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm sure there's some way with like this whole thing is gonna blow up because MSI exec probably has some different command line options, package, blah 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 blah, arguments. No. So I think that should get us to where we need to be there. Okay, so we have our application ready to go. We have an install script. We have an uninstall script. We don't need an update script. If you have a default config file, in this case, we don't have a default config. I would assume like maybe that's like an INI file or something like that, or like a JSON configuration. We do want this to be the latest version, so we won't exclude it from the latest. And then much like my
So what does exclude from latest do? Is that like if you'd want to test, do like a testing it, so not everything would pull down latest, you could pull it down as an explicit version?
Yeah,
but
so exclude from latest would be if I don't want this version to appear as the latest version when I create the VM. So yeah, for some reason I didn't want this to be the latest thing. So I think I said we would just expire December 31st. So that's fine. Who cares? Replication. I think we're fine with like just one replica and local redundant. Just know that you can do zone redundant storage. You can push things out to additional regions. Like, if I wanted to have this again, geo-replicated globally kind of thing. So it would be LRS storage, but then replicated out into LRS or ZRS accounts that are managed by this service is what I take it to be in N kind of regions. So that should get us far
Right.
enough.
Well,
Let's
and
go
this was
ahead
the
and create.
limitation where I think you can go up to three. Oh, it's three replicas per region. So you should be able to do unlimited number of regions, but no more than three replicas in any one of those regions.
Which is ZRS, right? Like you've got the
Right.
ZRS, 3AZs kind of thing. So if you have a region with AZs, then you're all set and ready to go. So when this uploads and does its thing, theoretically, the next step is we should be able to just go deploy a VM kind of through the next portal experience.
What does my learn more? Oh, it's like a circular link.
A circular link?
Think? Oh no, this goes. Oh, that goes down there. I was just clicking, so I got to the very end of. I was
You made it
walking
to
through
the
all the
bottom and past all the
documentation.
troubleshooting and all that.
Yeah, and then I clicked the next link, and I thought it went back to the beginning, but I think it. No, so learn how to create and deploy VM application packages, and then you go all the way down to the bottom of learn how to deploy and learn more about VM applications, and it goes back to the overview. See this? So it's a circle. It just bounces back and forth between two articles.
Which is
so how do you actually add this on a VM then? Because this doesn't have anything on how to install it or.
Well, we're going to get to that step next because that is
you're going to show me how to do that.
That's in the create and deploy VM applications article. So here, just while we're waiting for that resource to deploy. So that's in this one over here. So it's the same one that had that PowerShell script. So as you're going through it, you've got step one, create the VM application.
So we did all that.
Yep. And then it's kind of embedded in there. So it says, hey, hit review and create. And now like we've got all that exclude from latest stuff kind of here. And then just embedded right within these instructions is now you can create a VM. So it should be on the advanced tab of a VM. There should be a select a VM application to install.
Got it. So it's right there where you set up like extensions that you would put on a VM. Only now you have extensions and app packages.
Yep. So let's see if that is actually the case. So let's go back to our resource group here. It looks like our deployment is complete. Yeah. So now I can see I've got my gallery. This is kind of messy, right? Like that I have my gallery and all of these are resources as well. Like I thought maybe these would be proxy resources. So they would live inside the gallery resource, kind of like a storage account. A storage account has tables, files, queues, blobs, but you have to go into the storage account, the storage browser to see those things. Not the same here. So like one thing I would take away from this is if I want to use this, I would be creating my own resource group just to host the gallery in. So we missed a critical part in the documentation. I said in the documentation, like when we did the install command, it said that we should, we put in that MSI exec piece. There's a critical component on file naming way at the top, which is totally disconnected from the rest of those script things, which talks about here. We can switch back to the web browser here. Give me a second. I'll stop sharing that.
I suppose I could have brought up the web browser too. I still have it here.
Nope, that's fine. So we do limitations. So we've got this part right here on the download directory. So that all worked out. It downloaded.
The file naming.
The very next piece is the file naming. So regardless of what file name is used in the storage account, it's always going to be renamed back to my app or my app config. So in our case, I called my VM application 7-zip. So even though it's like 7-zip blah 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 .msi in the storage account, the VM application would be just 7-zip. And then I think this is a pretty critical piece here. The install, update, remove commands must be written with the following in mind. So when you come down here, that's why I was like looking at all these and I was like, oh, that's weird. Like I'm not doing a my app thing, right? I'm just so they did MSI exec slash my app. So yeah.
Oh, so we like almost like a literal copy and paste of that string
Almost
because we don't
you
care what
replace
our
the
file
thing.
name
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So configuration properties. Let's see. Well, none of this is going to help me.
And
What
of
I'd really
course, we
like
can't
here
like
is
go in and update
I
it,
well, I'd really love to be able to like
edit.
just copy this piece, right? So I bet we can fix this pretty quickly, though. Like if we've got /i, and we did /q, and then we had a 7-zip silent install. So if I come back to one of these wonderful resources, which one was it?
Was it the
Not
definition?
this
The
one,
VM
this
application
one.
definition?
Yep. So in my definition here, I want to create a new version, and let's call this 2.0.0. And we'll do the same thing. Let's browse for our application package, select. So now I know I'm not calling that, I'm just calling it 7-zip. And then I've got my little bit after that for my installation directory, which is going to be that. And then we can take that whole thing, and our uninstall command was just going to be /x. And we'll do that quietly. We don't need to worry about the install dir, default configuration, exclude from latest, blah, blah. End of life date. It's December 31st for consistency tags. So this is interesting. So even though it's the same definition, I guess, I could have versions of it that are replicated differently. So I could have like version 1 replicated to East US, version 2 replicated to West US, because the versioning is all at that level. So let's go back to our resource group, and we'll create a new VM again real quick. Windows Server. It looked like that was kind of, sort of, almost there and ready to work for us. Windows Server, and we did 2022 Azure Edition. We're going to next, and next. We're not going to worry about that. And just in case, again, we're going to be 6 p.m. and I am Eastern time. I don't need to be notified. Select an application to be installed, 7-zip, review and create, and go. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to share once again. And that should start coming through in just a second for you.
I see it coming up.
You see a nice black screen and fclip.exe.
I see yes. There we go. Now I see the recycle bin in the background.
Yay. All right.
The start button gets clipped. Oh, look at your start menu, Scott.
I know, I see it. You like that, right? Like
I do. I got excited.
When you read the manual out of order, it will all work beautifully for you.
Thanks for watching this To the Cloud video all about VM applications in Azure. If you want to see the full recording where Scott and I look at all the documentation, you see a few of our troubleshooting tips, you walk through that whole process with us and watch the full hour and 10-minute video, we would love for you to join our podcast membership. That is where you can join in these live recordings of these videos. You can see the recording in its entirety. You also can join us as we record our weekly podcast, the MS Cloud IT Pro podcast, and get access to our Discord server. So if you want all of those extra benefits, you want to see those additional videos and past videos we've recorded, head over to msclouditpro.com/membership to sign up to get all the details. If you don't care about all that, but you just want to support this YouTube channel, you want to see more of these videos, tell Scott and I thank you. We love any support. You can do one time the monthly membership over there as well. And if nothing else, just subscribe to the channel. Let us know any other videos, any other technologies that you would like us to cover, and we will see you on the next video.